Performing Gaming 420.
More and more people are creating similar comics, and the anime and manga world is born. Had World War II never happened, the bombs would not have been dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This would not have driven Japan into a deep depression, and inspired Osamu to get the people back on their feet through his entertainment. Napoleon's hemorrhoid. On the 18th of June 1815, Napoleon Bonaparte, military leader and first emperor of France, was to lead a battle that would define the future of his political power in Europe and France's future. It was the famous Battle of Waterloo, and Napoleon was not victorious. It was due to a number of ill-fated decisions leading up to the battle, such as Napoleon's poor choice of supporting staff, but one of the biggest contributions to his defeat was the delay in his opening assault. You see, the initial battle plan was to attack the British army led by the Duke of Wellington at around 9 AM. However, this attack was postponed by 2 hours, which gave Prussia enough time to reach Wellington and his men and double the defence power. Had Napoleon commenced at the planned 9 AM, he would only have had to face the British and then Prussia separately that day, instead of fighting them both together. So why did Napoleon delay the battle by a few hours? While the exact reason is not known, some have suggested bad soil conditions, but one of the most widely accepted views is that it was all down to Napoleon's hemorrhoids. Napoleon suffered a few health problems, but none of them slowed him down and caused as much distress as his severe case of hemorrhoids. The story goes that a few days before the battle at Waterloo, Napoleon's doctor had no leeches to relieve Napoleon's pain. Instead, he administered laudanum, a strong narcotic. This made Napoleon drowsy and did not subside the pain, which kept him up the night before the battle. Exhausted and in severe pain, his orders were not as accurate or thorough as they would have been. It's an interesting theory, and it may sound bizarre, but we know with almost certainty Napoleon did have hemorrhoids, as it has been written by his brother. Now the question is, if he had the leeches, or in fact had prevented the hemorrhoids in the first place, would he have had a better chance at winning the Battle of Waterloo? Hitler's assassination. I have talked about Hitler's close call with death on more than one occasion. The main one was when Henry Tandy aimed his sights at a young Adolf during World War I, but decided against pulling the trigger. Well, this wasn't the first time the outcome of the world could have been much different had Hitler been killed. In 1929, he was making a speech at the Sportpalast in Berlin, a speech that was expected to last a few hours. Well, the story goes that one SS guard who was on duty at the arena had planned to assassinate Adolf before he had become Chancellor, using explosives planted under the podium. But the guard needed to use the bathroom, thinking he would have more than enough time to detonate the bomb. However, when he went to the toilet, he found himself locked in. Unable to get out, he could not detonate the bomb, and Hitler left the arena to live another day. The authenticity of this story is hard to confirm, but if it's true, it shows how one small action could have changed the outcome of all of our lives. A top 5s video possibly saved someone's life. Now this is a different one. There are lots, in fact billions of butterfly examples I could use, and I may do another video or turn this into a series. But I wanted to include a more of a personal story. It's only short, but it is pretty insane. It's a story from Jeremiah from Finland, and he wrote to me saying that watching a top 5s video could well have saved his life. He was working his usual security officer shift and was sitting in his patrol car in a parking lot. He decided he wanted to go to the gas station and grab a cup of coffee. But just before he pulled off, he had a notification that a new top 5s video had been uploaded. He decided he would watch the video first, then grab his coffee. But 10 seconds into watching, on the road he would have been on at this point had he not stopped to watch the video. The driver of a truck had fallen asleep at the wheel and ended up in a ditch right on the opposite side of the road, right next to the parking lot. But had Jeremiah not decided to watch the top 5s video before getting a coffee, he would have been right in the path of the truck. He believes he would have been seriously injured or even killed had he gone to get the coffee first. This is a truly insane story, and it puts a completely new meaning to the notification squad. So that's 5 examples of the butterfly effect. I hope you've enjoyed. And if you have any especially interesting butterfly effects in your life, then feel free to share them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Curses have been around for thousands of years and are often blamed for tragic events, as their sole purpose is to cause harm or even death to those who they have been summoned upon. Nowadays, we often associate them with witches, who will cast them to those who do them wrong. But this isn't always the case, as oftentimes people can be cursed by moving or touching objects such as old artifacts, or even taking items from a haunted home. Now, whether you believe in them or not, there have been a number of misfortunes and even fatalities that can be traced back and linked to some kind of curse or action that could have invoked one. Whether it's all just coincidence and speculation, or whether there is some truth behind curses, is up to you to decide. So, from a cauldron used by one of the most infamous serial killers to store and possibly cook human remains in his house, to Europe's oldest mummy that seems to have been responsible for many deaths after it was discovered, here are 5 cursed and haunted items from around the world. Hit the lights, sit back, and enjoy. The Cursed Grimoire. What better way to start a cursed items video than talking about a grimoire? A grimoire is the name given to a textbook of magic that provides instructions on how to create talismans as well as perform magical spells and summon supernatural entities such as angels, spirits, and demons. They are very rare, so on a few days before Halloween in 2013, 2 handwritten spiral-bound grimoires came up for sale. They created a lot of interest and were sold for over $13,000. But they came with a warning. On the opening page was this message: to those not of this craft, the reading of this book is forbidden. Proceed no further, or justice will exact a swift and terrible retribution, and you will surely suffer at the hands of this craft. The same warning was written again using the ancient alphabet called Theban, which is a magical text of unknown origin that is thought to only be understood by true believers of witchcraft. The author of the book had also signed her name using the Theban alphabet. But what's even more interesting is that tradition states that the original witch should have the grimoire burned after their death in order to keep her magic spells and identity a secret. If this really was written by a witch, then for this book to come up for sale was almost unheard of. It turns out it was written by a witch in the 1960s who was a high priestess of Wicca, and the grimoires had somehow been acquired by a lady whose husband worked for occultist Aleister Crowley. The first of the books contained hundreds of years worth of Wicca knowledge passed down from her mother and other generations of high priestesses, and the second includes recipes, cures, and ceremonial perfumes. Both books, depending on your beliefs of witchcraft, could be very powerful and even dangerous in the wrong hands. So who bought them? Well, it's not known, but the company who acquired them and sold them in the first place said this: the spell books, or grimoires to give them the correct Wiccan name, are particularly interesting as they are cursed. We have not heard from the buyer since the purchase, and that could be good or bad. To think that someone actually paid over $13,000 and has since not been in contact makes you wonder what exactly they are using the book for. I just want to ask, I've heard a few interesting stories about witchcraft, and wanted to know if any of you believe witchcraft is real, and people can cast spells and such, or do you think it's all make-believe? The Curse of Ötzi. In 1991, the frozen body of Ötzi the Iceman was discovered in the Ötztal Alps on the Italian border. He was thought to have died over 5,300 years ago, and this Bronze Age man was a remarkable and exciting find. Not only was he the oldest natural human mummy in Europe, but also gave researchers an insight into Europeans of that time period. But following the bizarre circumstances surrounding those who discovered Ötzi made many believe disturbing him was not a good idea. One by one, those who discovered and examined his remains were struck with bad luck. Rainer Henn, the forensic pathologist who examined Ötzi, died in a car accident a year later. Kurt Fritz, the guide who led Henn to the body and brushed the snow off of Ötzi to reveal his face, died in his